It's time for us to change our position. It's time for us to represent ourselves and our interests. That means that we need to go and get involved politically because we have to be part of the decision making.
Donc je pense que ce qui est important en tout cas ici, c'est pouvoir se retrouver avec différents Roms de différents pays. On a peu d'espace finalement pour se rencontrer. Donc, je pense qu'il est important maintenant qu'on puisse se sentir assez à l'aise que pour pouvoir le dire et le revendiquer.
Mini Angelo, Armand di Macedonia. So what I just said was my introduction. I'm Angelo and I'm from Macedonia, and that was in my minority language, Vlach. I'm a Vlach from Macedonia, and even though we might be small in numbers in my country, we are huge for ourselves because being part of a minority is not just being a part of a group of people who are fewer than the majority, but it's also a kind of treasure that you should cherish, because people who come from minorities actually have it tougher in different societies, and those who pull through those societies and get to a point where all their rights are granted and they can live freely are the ones who we can say are living the best of their lives. And I think as a member of a minority, it's very important to cooperate with other minorities, either if it's from the same region, country, or from a different one, because in that way you can promote social inclusion. And even if you're a Vlach, a Roma, a German in Denmark, or whichever other minority there is, it doesn't matter because we're all the same. We are all minorities, and working together could only benefit us and show the majority that we're not just a small group. We're the same group as you, and we do the same stuff as you, and we want to be equal as you. So.
I want to say all of the Roma in the world, be that one who you want to be. Don't run away from yourself, be yourself, and be proud to be a Roma because you're amazing and you're one and all. So quieres Europa give me a privilege to know something new about the Roma, something new about who I am.
This festival helped me a lot to meet a lot of people from different countries and learn about their culture in their Roma culture in their country.
The reason why I'm here, I had no chance to meet Roma people, and I saw this social forum. I decided to come this forum, So quieres Europa, and So quieres Europa important because you can meet with them. You can be friend with them, you can break your stereotypes.
Mi mensaje es para los políticos y es decirles que esta nueva generación de jóvenes gitanos estamos formados, somos capaces de ejercer cualquier puesto de trabajo, podemos trabajar a cualquier nivel, incluso en los más altos, aunque a veces no se lo crean, y venimos a reclamar lo que es nuestro. Venimos a reclamar que somos ciudadanos europeos.
Maybe this is one of my most important message to Europe, to listen from the others and to be open to hear what they say. Because if you didn't listen, you didn't learn from them.
We're talking about the future, and we feel here that we are together, and together we are stronger. So.
Hello, everyone. Once again, I'm welcoming the Zoom participants. It's an honor to have you here. And it was an honor to watch this video, which was about, togetherness And this is going to be the spirit for today's event as well. My name is Bogi. I will be moderating this Zoom discussion and also trying to make sure that information that you're sharing, questions that you're asking under the live video on Facebook, they get to our speakers and that there is as much exchange as possible. Once again, Bogi is my name. I'm working on the international level, mainly with Romani, women's rights, feminist, LGBTQ activists. And I've been also involved in this program, which we have the closing conference of today. So what are we doing here? Roma Youth Voices, the role and power of Roma youth in mainstream structures. This is the title of our conference today. And the program, which lasted approximately 2 years, was organized by Pirana Mensa, a Budapest-based network NGO, and also Ternipe International Network. And I have the pleasure to have here the executive director of Pirana Mensa, Marietta, and we also have with us someone from Ternipe, Marius Ludike, and they will be greeting you on behalf of the two organizing organizations. Just before I give the word to Marietta, I would like to just reiterate that there is a chat function in the Zoom. So if you have any questions to the videos about the projects that we will be talking about, or just any input that you want to share, put it in the chat box, please. I will make sure that I collect the questions. And also the same goes for the Facebook video. After the welcoming speeches of Marietta and Marius, we will be talking a bit about the agenda for today. So wait for that. Another reminder, and where it really goes to Marietta, when you're not speaking in the Zoom, please mute your microphones. I know this is the quote of 2020, unmute yourself or mute yourself. So I'm saying it as well. Mute yourself when you're not speaking and just like write or chat or signal, raise your hand if you have anything to say, and we will give the floor to you. So welcome once again, and hi Marietta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bogi. Good morning, everyone, and welcome all of you in the Zoom and also those who are watching us live on Facebook. It's a great honor to be with you today and also to be able to organize such an event in these circumstances. We are very glad that at least online we are able to organize and implement the award ceremony and this important discussion which we are preparing since a year. As we always talk that this will be happen in an in-person relation and connection, because it also gives us much more opportunity to engage and to promote each other's work. But still we felt important to close the year and to use December 10, the International Human Rights Day, on the occasion to raise the awareness about the growing anti-Gypsyism in Europe, but also how young people are engaged to tackle not just anti-Gypsyism, but racism, and to promote human rights and equal opportunities for Roma. Ternipe and Pirana Mensa have been engaging and working together very closely and hardly in the last 2 years, not just on the project called Roma Youth Voices, but much more broader to increase the visibility of Roma youth projects and initiatives. And the award ceremony today is just the top of this. We have been supporting Roma youth initiatives and Roma youth organizations to develop their capacities to become members of mainstream youth structures on national and international level. And we are also very happy to see so many successful results of these 2 years. And you will also experience throughout the discussions that, for instance, we have a young Roma reporter in the Council of Europe structure. We have developed such closer relations with the European Commission, which we believe this is also the huge efforts from both our sides. So we really welcome you here, and I'm not going to take so much the floor. I'm happy to welcome you on behalf of Pirana Mensa, and we know each other quite well throughout these years working together, and we really hope that next year will give us much more better opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Marietta, and Marius, the floor is yours to welcome participants.
Thank you very much, Bogi, and I'm glad that I can greet everyone who's watching on behalf of TENEP, International Roma Youth Network. And I want to start to say that we are glad that we could work so closely with Pirana Mensah and Marietta in the last 2 years on the Roma Youth Voices project, especially through projects such as Roma Genocide Remembrance. We could raise voices of Roma youth to make them heard and to make remembrance on the Roma genocide also a topic where Roma youth can be seen and heard, which was difficult during the last year of this project, as I think I don't have to tell anybody. And we are glad that we could still, in the face of COVID-19, through this year and on 2nd August, make Roma youth voices heard online and especially on social media, that to share experiences of former participants, of former facilitator of the whole Dikina Vista project, which usually gathers around 500 Roma and non-Roma youth around 2nd of August in Krakow. And especially that we could make Roma youth voices heard in the digital conference into launching the EU framework until 2030 was a great success to make Roma voices heard on an international, on a EU level. Many thanks again to Marietta and Bogi to organize this closing conference, and I don't want to take any more time from the Roma Youth Voices Award, and I'm very much looking forward to the great project that will be awarded. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marius, and thank you, Marietta. So as you have heard from Marius and Marietta, what we will be showcasing today is the results of 2 years of hard work, despite all the restrictions of COVID-19. And not just that, there's a lot of structural barriers that these two organizations have to work against when it comes to increasing Roma youth participation. So in today's discussion, we will be talking about those barriers, but also the successes that has been achieved in the past 2 years. Before we go into the videos and the ceremony, the award ceremony, I just wanted to give you a quick lineup of what is planned today. So we will see a couple of amazing videos, which are in a way related to the award ceremony. So the Roma Youth 2020 Award. We will see a short clip about the applicant project, and we have an honorable guest, Ms. Helena Dalli, Commissioner for Equality of the European Commission, presenting and announcing the winner. So stay tuned for that. It's coming in a couple of minutes. And we'll also see a project video from Ternipe, from the Roma Youth Voices project, which is about how Roma youth is envisioning a different future for Romani youth and Romani people in general. So after these short videos, there is a moderated discussion on the role and power of Roma youth in mainstream structures. The title is a bit cryptic. So what are mainstream structures? Everyone has, I think, a different idea about that, but we will entangle this concept, and our speakers will be addressing different aspects of mainstream structures and how Roma youth participation can ensure it in those. We have a list of amazing speakers with us. We have Anna, who a lot of you already know from Pirana Mensah, Anna Darozzi. We have Lavinia Banu from the European Commission. We have Floor van Hout, also from the European Commission, working on youth, volunteer solidarity and traineeships. And we also have Georgina with us, who was already mentioned by Marietta, who is a young Romani woman from Hungary and the rapporteur on Roma issues at the Advisory Council on Youth of the Council of Europe. So I really look forward to that discussion. But before that, let's jump into the award ceremony. I think most of you who are following are here for that. And I just tell a couple of words about the award, the concept of the Roma Youth Awards, in case you haven't heard about it. But I'm sure a lot of you are from applicant organizations themselves, so you are quite familiar with that. So the competition in this Roma Youth Award was open to projects and initiatives of both Roma and non-Roma NGOs and informal groups, which ran between 1st of January 2018 and end of December 2019, not just in the EU, but also in the Western Balkans, Turkey, Ukraine, and Moldova. So the competition received over 40 project descriptions from 19 countries by 33 NGOs and several informal groups. Some of the submitted projects aimed at fostering the inclusion of young Roma through empowerment, education, and training. Some of them were focusing on supporting young Roma to become active members of social and political life. So they were varying in their scope. And I think it's also important to note that many projects took an intersectional approach, working with those communities, those groups who are suffering multiple and intersectional discriminations, and others engaged with different forms of media and art to raise awareness about youth issues concerning Roma communities. So it's a wide variety of organizations, and I would like to congratulate all of them. I think when we speak about, or when we generally think about, Roma youth participation, we have this stereotypical image that, yeah, Roma youth is very much inactive. And I think an award like this can really break that stereotype and can show the diversity of groups of active Roma young people who are doing a lot to tackle anti-Gypsyism in their communities, in their context, and to help each other and to act in solidarity with one another. So that was me about the concept of the award. And then let's see a short video about the applicant project, and then we will announce the winners. Wow, it's so good to see all these projects working in so many different corners of Europe and actually tackling issues that I think there is not much, discussion or public discussion on in a lot of context. For me, for instance, it was really good to see that there is a group working on homelessness of Roma in Brussels. I don't know about the speakers who are based in Brussels, but for me, it's quite emotional every time I travel to Brussels and being surrounded by all these EU EC institutions to see that many homeless people who are Roma. So I'm asking actually colleagues from Tarnipe and Piranamensa, is there a project brochure or information about this amazing project? If there is, please drop that link in the chat box and on Facebook as well. I think a lot of us would like to get to know more about this project. And yes, let's see who the winner is. So the award will be announced by Helena Dalli, who is the Commissioner for Equality. Let's go.
It is an honor to present this award today. I take this opportunity to congratulate every participating organization and project, that is the over 40 projects coming from 19 countries. It is wonderful to see such strong commitment to the advancement of Roma equality, inclusion and participation across Europe. A special thank you goes to Roma Youth Voices, a project that we gladly found, for giving much needed publicity to Roma youth issues across Europe. I deeply regret how little progress has been made to fight anti-Gypsyism. I equally deeply regret the little progress made to address the fact that in the EU, 4 in 5 Roma are still at risk of poverty. That is 5 times greater than the risk faced by the general population. Or to address the 10-year gap in life expectancy between Roma and the general population. With only 43% of Roma in employment, so much talent is being wasted. This happens in a context when young people's human and social capital is one of Europe's greatest assets for the future. There are 90 million young Europeans, and you are part of them. I want to change these figures. This is why we invested in bringing new approaches in the new EU strategic framework for equality, inclusion, and participation, which I have put forward on the 7th of October. The new initiative embraces diversity in all its aspects and places a higher emphasis on Roma youth, and it looks at creating opportunities and using the untapped potential of young Roma people. In doing so, a specific EU headline target has been established, aiming to ensure, for example, that by 2030, the majority of Roma youth complete at least upper secondary education, or to ensure that by 2030, less than 1 in 3 Roma youth is in education, employment, or training. Moreover, since participation and empowerment are among the main pillars of the new initiative, the Commission is foreseeing a wide range of activities, both at the European and at the national level, meant to boost the active participation of Roma youth in the national and European structures. We will also make sure that countries stick to their commitments through the monitoring of progress. Moreover, an important part of this plan is the involvement of Roma and pro-Roma civil society organizations like yours. I shall now present the winner of the 2020 Best Roma Youth Project Award to Roma youth organization Walk With Us, Verena Menka of Montenegro, for your outstanding work to empower and educate Roma, enabling the type of participation in society that we want to see as part of our own EU Roma strategic framework. A big congratulations again to everyone who participated. Stay active, continue to fight for a better world, and keep leading the way for the generations of Roma to come. Thank you.
Wow, it's amazing. So, yeah, let's see a big clap in the Zoom meeting. If you can turn on your videos. Can I see all of you? Yeah, and also the voice. You can do that.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Fernanda. Is it a coincidence that they're also called Pirana Mensa, just like the organizers are?
They thought we inspired them, so let's hope we inspire much more many organizations.
Amazing. Congratulations. Congratulations to Pirana Mensa. And we would like to thank Helena Zali for the message. And not just for the message, but I think since she has been in office, she showed great commitment to Roma youth issues and was participating in a lot of events and was also instrumental in adopting the EU framework in October, which we will talk more about. Not, I won't be telling much more about it, but we have guests and speakers from the European Commission who will address what the 2020-2030 EU framework could leverage to Roma communities in Europe, and how they see the Roma youth participation and the potential benefit that they could gain. Helena Dali mentioned the indicators that are in the strategy as well, also the crucial role of participation foreseen for young Roma people. So we'll talk about those issues in a second. But before we go into the discussion, I wanted to share with you another short video. And I think this is the last one, at least in the first half of the event, which was also compiled in the framework of the Roma Youth Voices project by Ternipe. And just a little bit of information about how the video was made. It was filmed and edited during a 3 days advocacy training for young Roma advocates in Mannheim in September this year, who prepared the video message addressing actually the new EU Roma strategy leading up to 2030. I'm sorry, there was just like some background noise here. And this is their topic vision, and they hope to see this become a reality in the EU. And I think we need very committed politicians in order for them to see that as a reality in 10 years' time. So let's see how young Roma people envision 2030 in the European Union for Roma youth.
Thank you, Bogi, and sorry to interrupt. Before I show this video, we also have a video from NGO Pirana Mensa from Montenegro. Sorry to just to also introduce the amazing work they are doing in Montenegro and what was the project actually won the competition. So sorry, I will just share this video with you and congratulate them again.
Roma Youth Organization, Walk With Us, Pirana Mensa, is founded in 2014. The founders of organization are young university-educated Roma activists.
I'm in charge for social media.
I'm the one who created videos. Since 2014, Walk With Us has committed to developing and actively engaging young Roma men and women in life of Montenegrin society. Roma Youth Organization launched the first Roma portal, RomaNet, which informs the public about the daily challenges of the Roma community and successful Roma.
Pirana Mensa's team and volunteers are actively providing support to the community.
Together with UNDP, we distributed school supplies to more than 100 Roma students who enrolled in first grade on the territory of Podgorica.
Youth for Youth project was for young people from Roma communities. We empowered 20 young Roma and non-Roma people to create and submit initiatives on local level. Those initiatives made it possible for them to realize they can be a force of change. Young Roma learn about channels they can use to act through. Coming from 6 different towns of Montenegro, they got to know each other and share experiences.
Projects like these are giving us encouragement that we can be a driving force of positive change.
Despite of overall poor conditions in Roma communities, this award is validation that our work is essential.
Thank you, Marietta, and sorry for the glitch. I just skipped one line in my document lineup for the event. So once again, congratulations to Pirana Mensa. And I think the video about their work will be also available after the event. So please share this discussion now. You have in the chat the link, and follow the Roma Youth Voices Facebook page as well for more information about the participants. And let's now see that utopic video on the vision of young Roma people who participated in a training in September and thought about, you know, what the new EU framework could leverage to their communities.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 1 million people from around Europe gathered today in Brussels to celebrate International Roma Day. Let's take a look. People call it a historic moment and celebrate the success of the EU strategy for Roma equality after 10 years. Let me welcome the President of the European Commission. President, can you tell us what brought this radical change for social justice in Europe?
10 years ago, in 2020, we faced a threat for our democracy and European values. A historic pandemic hit the world unprepared. Political leaders continued to ignore the crisis of climate change. Anti-Gypsyism and racism were on the rise. Young Roma were part of a global movement. They stood up and they led change. Europe had to look into the mirror, and they had only one choice. We had to recognize our responsibility for centuries of anti-Gypsyism. We recognized the Holocaust of 500,000 murdered Roma and Sinti in Nazi-occupied Europe.
Participating in the Knabister Roma Genocide Initiative, it helped us to take power over Roma future by claiming our past.
The hardest path to walk is the one we are not meant for.
The Roma Holocaust survivor Raymond Buren left his legacy to Roma youth. Never give up, always stand up, always resist. I am somebody.
I must be respected.
I must be protected. We must be protected.
It's the duty of our movement to bring dignity and equality to our people.
Oh wow, what a legit moment. But Madam President, when did you realize what the European Commission and Member States could do?
During the pandemic crisis in 2020, European politicians gathered for an online meeting on October 12th. We all listened to these powerful messages of young people.
In university, my professor told me, "You're different than the other Roma." Imagine how it made me feel.
I was so ashamed of being Roma, and I was hiding my identity in school.
I told you, Magneto was right.
You want society to accept you, but you can't even accept yourself.
But when I joined in a Roma youth organization, I became stronger and I started to accept myself.
We, as Roma students, started to mobilize. We started to raise against racism. We went to the centers of power to make our voices heard.
Magneto was right. Young, Roma, and proud.
Young, Roma, and proud.
Thank you very much, Madam President. And now, let's celebrate International Roma Day.
The change is coming, no matter if you like it or not.
President, what's next on your agenda?
You know, it's time to fight climate change now.
If you choose to fail us, we will never forgive you.
Wow, wow, wow. I love this video. I love utopistic visions in general, but I think this is very, very much helping us also to situate ourselves in the upcoming 10 years. So it's quite realistic. It stays quite realistic. So how do we want to see European places of power and mainstream structures in 2030? How do we want to see the role of Roma youth from a lot of different organizations, like the ones that have been just selected for this award? How do we want to see them in policy making? This is the questions I will be talking about with our distinguished speakers in the following 1 hour. So I'm not sure if technically we can introduce them, but they will have the chance to say a couple of words about themselves. So let's jump into it. And in this following half an hour, 40 minutes, we'll be reflecting on different structures in European policy making that are relevant to Roma people, Roma communities, but also to youth in particular. So for those of you who are following us on Facebook, or you here, the participants in this Zoom meeting, I would like to ask you just to, send in questions if you're unsure about one policy process or you don't know too much about its implementation and the next steps. Just let us know so that our speakers can answer that. Before we turn to our speakers, we would like to give you a little bit of input on behalf of the Pirana Mensa International Network about the current state of Roma youth participation. So our first presentation or input will be from Anna Darozzi from Pirana Mensa, who will be providing a couple of insights into the latest Pirana Mensa research on Roma youth participation. And please don't forget that you will have a chance to ask questions towards the very end. If you have them already, it's better to prepare the speakers already while they have the time to prepare. So just put them in the chat box or under the YouTube video. So I'm hoping that Anna is ready. So Anna, the floor is yours to give an overview of the situation.
Thank you very much. Sorry. My name is Anna Darozzi, as you can see, and I've been working at the Pirana Mensa International Network for more than 4 years now. And I would just shortly like to use the chance to congratulate also on my behalf all the award applicants and the winner, of course. And yes, it is a coincidence that we have the same name. So thank you everyone for being here on towards the end of the year. And I would like to shortly share our learnings and a bit about the issues we think are important at this moment. Pirana Mensa has been working to eliminate anti-Gypsyism for more than 10 years now through volunteering, non-formal education, and advocacy. During the last 2 years, we have concentrated on the social and political participation of young Roma within the Roma Youth Voices project, which was financed by DG Justice of the European Commission. Within this, we have held advocacy trainings, local actions, international campaigns, supported grassroots Roma youth organizations in six countries, and as you already know, opened the competition for the Best Roma Youth Project 2020. But we have also conducted a Europe-wide survey assessing the challenges and needs of young Roma and NGOs related to political participation. First of all, why is Roma youth participation so important for us? If we are involved in creating and implementing the policies which affect our lives, we strengthen our capacity to deal with issues important for us and can go on to become political actors, decision makers, and activists who can articulate the interests of our communities. Young Roma are equal parts of society. They need to be involved in creating mainstream European and national youth policies and programs because they are part of the youth of Europe. And they have to be at the table when decisions are made about Roma at all levels, not only as beneficiaries, but also as full members with decision-making power, because they are the future of Roma communities. This involvement does not come naturally, as our experiences and also the survey shows. Very often, the process of participation is blocked already in the information phase, as many young Roma had not even heard about programs which are in place for their benefit, such as the Youth Guarantee, the EU Youth Dialogue, or the European Solidarity Corps. The calls do not reach them. These calls and descriptions are hard to find, and the language, sorry, and their language is very often inaccessible for many. International and intergovernmental actors should do a better job at reaching out to young Roma, because at this point, the lowest level of participation, access to information, is not being totally fulfilled. The information and the structures have to be more accessible, and the young Roma should be enabled to make use of them. Decisions about youth issues are influenced by different groups, national and international youth structures like national youth councils, which young Roma and their organizations are not parts of. These structures must become active in reaching out to Roma youth and support their full participation. Young Roma and the issues which are important to them are rarely represented in Roma-related structures and civil society organizations, not to talk about their decision-making bodies. They should be involved in the design, the implementation, and the monitoring of the national Roma strategies, and be part of the national Roma platforms. One could say, of course, and we hear it a lot, that assuring access to these structures and information is the responsibility of civil society organizations. What we have witnessed and the collected data also shows that Roma youth NGOs and Roma organizations working with young people are low in numbers. 70% of our survey respondents said that there are not enough organizations to turn to, especially on the grassroots level. The existing ones, the few existing ones, operate on low capacities and can hardly engage with young Roma as more than beneficiaries, but as leaders. This way, Roma youth cannot rely on the mediator role of CSOs, the civil society organizations, to provide access to European instruments. These structures should go, and this growth needs to be directly supported, in our opinion. To secure that our future is in our hands, Roma youth should be prioritized when it comes to designing youth policies and Roma inclusion strategies on the EU, national, and local levels. To do this meaningfully, young Roma have to be included in the agenda setting bodies, in the European Commission structures, in intergovernmental bodies, national youth councils, national Roma platforms, and even student parliaments. These institutions should actively seek their involvement and engage in specific activities to reach out to young Roma people. Capacity building activities such as info sessions, training courses, organizational development services should be designed explicitly for young Roma and their organizations. Young Roma are politically active and enthusiastic. They have the right to represent their needs and are demanding their place at the table. And as here are my fellow panelists represent relevant structures, we are very curious to see how we can all contribute to these goals together. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, for this very concise summary. I'm sure there's going to be also a research report released, so please keep us informed about how public this information is. It was really striking to me that 70% of respondents stated that there is not enough organizations that are accessible to Roma youth that can fulfill this mediation function between European structures and local communities. And yeah, I think it's generally safe to say that Roma civil society face a lot of structural barriers to participation, which is something that we're going to be talking about in the upcoming discussion. So I would like to ask everyone from our wonderful panelists to introduce themselves first, because I could not do that fully with the video, and also to reflect on this evidence brought forward by Pirana Mensa and just briefly summarized by Anna. And I also have a couple of prompters for you, so feel free to answer any of those questions that you like. So first of all, how, from the viewpoint of your institution, you're seeing this problem of systemic exclusion of Romani youth from activities that should be beneficial to them, and how your institution is trying to respond to this situation. How do you try to increase the capacities of Roma youth and Roma youth organizations, and how to involve them in decision making? Is it a priority for your institutions as well? And generally speaking, please feel free to address the diversity of your institutions. I think this video from Ternipe was really utopistic, unfortunately, right now, to have a commission president, I think it was in the video, who was a Roma woman. I'm a bit pessimistic about it. I don't think this is a likely scenario for the upcoming 10 years, but maybe for the upcoming 20 years it is. But action to achieve that has to start now. So what are your institutions doing to get into that directions in the upcoming couple of decades, our lifetime, basically? So the floor is yours. We'll give everyone 5-6 minutes to briefly respond. And let's start with Lavinia, then with Flor, then with Georgina. So that's going to be the lineup. Feel free just to jump in. So Lavinia, you're the first.
Thank you very much. And I would also like to take the opportunity to congratulate the winners. It was amazing, it was inspiring, and we are happy in DG Justice that we practically contributed to enhancing the voices of the Roma youth also in this aspect. And it was the same also for the utopic video that we've witnessed a bit earlier. And in this sense, I would like to pick on something that you just mentioned earlier, that you are skeptical that one day we will have Roma president, Roma women president of the European Commission. And just a food for thought, imagine then maybe 40, 50 years ago, nobody would have imagined that we would have a woman as president of the European Commission, but here we are today. Not only that we have a woman leading the European Commission, but we also have a very balanced quota of commissioners, women in the European Commission. So we managed to break one ceiling, and I think from here on, it is also up to us to see how we build on this. And just to answer a little bit to the questions you've mentioned earlier, in 2018 in the European Commission, we have conducted an evaluation to monitor and to see what was the progress achieved by the EU framework for national Roma integration strategies. And when it comes to barriers encountered by Roma youth, it is safe to state that indeed there was very little progress when it comes to the access on the labor market. We've had a little bit of progress in the area of education, but then if you look at the segregation percentages, then you will see that the picture is not so positive. And in addition to this, indeed, what was mentioned earlier, the representativeness of the Roma youth in the decision-making process. That's again something that hasn't been properly tackled. And to give you a figure on this, when answering to our evaluation, because we had the consultation published online, 69% of the respondents highlighted that there was not enough done in this area, and this should be strengthened. And because one more question that you've mentioned tackled a little bit the diversity in the European institutions. I would like to bring to the attention of all the participants today in the Zoom meetings, but also maybe those ones watching us online, that in September, the European Commission adopted what we call a new anti-racism action plan 2020-2025. And this is a huge milestone when it comes to diversity, when it comes to addressing the anti-racism across the EU. But it's also an important step for the Roma communities as such. When we talk about Black Lives Matters, we should also bear in mind that applicable at the European level, we should also put this in parallel with the biggest minority group in the EU, which is Roma themselves. So we do put this at the equal footing in terms of importance. And I would just like to mention a few things that the Commission intends to do within its own kitchen, to put it like this, to increase the diversity of staff in the European Commission. And we are foreseeing a set of actions in the forthcoming human resources strategies that will shape the modernization of the European Commission as a public administration. A diversity and inclusion office will be created within the Directorate General for Human Resources and Security to oversee the development and implementation of all relevant actions. Even more important step, the collection of data on the diversity of the European Commission staff will be done for the first time ever via a dedicated diversity and inclusion survey, which will be, of course, voluntarily and anonymous. Its results will pave the way for evidence-based policies and measures under the human resources strategies. So this will not be a strategy that will be done on the basis of assumptions, but on the basis of evidence. The survey will cover all categories of staff and target all possible grounds of discrimination, including data on racial and ethnic origin of the staff, in full compliance with data protection rules, obviously, and it will serve as a basis for measuring the progress later on in the future. Another important step, there are quite a few, but I'm going to just try to highlight the ones which maybe will make sense for the conversation today. There will be an equality and diversity monitoring tool that will be developed in cooperation with the member states to identify potential gaps in applicants, possible blocking factors, and how this might be addressed in the future. There is also another important aspect when it comes to the Commission Blue Book traineeship program. Maybe some of the people watching us today are familiar with this. It's the biggest internship scheme of the European Commission. We are currently working on future steps in order to increase the diversity even there. Again, this would be aligned with the strategy that will be put in place. And we hope that this will actually work in practice and we'll have more Roma applicants and successful candidates for this internship. I think on my side, I will just stop here for this point. In case you have any other questions, please feel free. I'm here to answer. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Lavinia. For me, it was the first time when I heard about these diversity initiatives within the Commission, and I'm actually very positively surprised. So thank you for mentioning that. If you have any links that you can insert, if there is a working document, please insert in the group chat, and we'll also be sharing it on Facebook. I think it's really good to see some concrete actions forming. And also, Pirana Mensa published recently, and the Roma Youth Voices published a video recently where one of the great Romani youth activists is talking about how opportunities tend to be limited to internships, and you know, like Roma youth don't really succeed in breaking that ceiling that you were mentioning. So I think this is a very important first step. And then Flor, maybe you can also tell a little bit from your side. And please also introduce yourself and which institutions you're part of. So I'm not sure Lavinia did that, but Lavinia Banu is from the European Commission, DG Justice, from the Roma team. So Flor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Bogi. I'm very pleased to be here, and let me also congratulate the winners and all the others who were shown in the videos. I enjoyed watching them a lot, and notably the first one you showed, where you saw all these young people sitting together, singing and clapping to being so close together, and it only reminds us how important that kind of gatherings can be, and this human warmth and being together and singing, and how much we miss it actually in these days. So I very much enjoyed watching this, and also the positive spirit and the dreams of the future 10 years ahead of us. So we also hope to contribute. My name is Floor van Hout. I'm a colleague of Lavinia. I work in another department dealing with youth policies and programs. And in that policy area, we have a number of programs you may be familiar with, the Erasmus Plus Youth Actions, and also the European Solidarity Corps, which is the EU's volunteering program. And all these programs, what they share is that they want to support young people to be active in civic life in Europe, and also by doing that to gain new skills. And this is all about youth participation, which is also for you. We very much strive for equal access for everyone, and we know that this includes also attention for those who are not benefiting from that today. So this is there, and of course already the fact that I'm here and we can exchange views on this is a big step towards better inclusion. Everything starts with information. If you don't have the information, nothing will work. So this is very important. And one of the big tools we have is the European Youth Portal, which aims to be the single access point for opportunities for young people. We have just launched a new version, which we hope is more user-friendly and more modern in its look and feel. Where you can find information about European programs, but there's also plenty of other articles and links that we think are of interest to young people. And increasingly, it also becomes the point where you can participate. So it's not just there for information, you can also apply for the European Solidarity Corps. So if you're interested in volunteering, you can go there and register yourself directly in the database. It's very easy. You don't need to do anything else, but just fill in your data, and you're in the scheme. Then also, this goes for the Discover EU actions, which allow 18-year-olds to travel around Europe. You can apply for the tickets directly in the youth portal. Obviously, this is not on for the moment. We have to wait for better times and the pandemic behind us, but this is really the go-to place. But we are doing, of course, far more. Our youth strategy is built around engage, connect, and empower. Let me just comment on what opportunities lie within those three buzzwords. When it comes to engage, what we want to achieve is that young people have a voice in European policy making. it's very often said young people are the future, but of course young people also have needs today, and especially in this dire corona times, we hear a lot of worrying signals about growing social divides, that those who are in fragile situations are hit harder, and that overall the mental well-being of young people is a big concern. Because if anyone needs to be out and to be in social activities, it is young people. So young people have needs, and we need to give them a stage to listen. And for that, we have an EU Youth Dialogue, and also this dialogue we hope to increasingly let this happen online on the youth portal, because that will enable a much wider access. But also in the other parts of the youth dialogue, we have worked together closely with the European youth organizations to make this dialogue more inclusive. And we started, as Lavinia has said, we started to actually track and monitor who is involved today, so we have a better grasp on who is involved and how we can improve the inclusion. And one thing we have already learned and changed is that we need different consultation channels so that we reach out to everyone, because we have organizations like yours who are organized and who can respond to the structured youth dialogue, for instance, that we have through the youth dialogue with the Youth Forum and with the national working groups. And I understand Roma Youth has since a month or so become a member of the Youth Forum, which is a very important step and a big opportunity to mobilize Roma young people in those structures, because that there you're at the heart of the youth community, of the organized civil society, and this gives you opens a lot of new doors, so to say. But in dialogue, what we have also learned is an online consultation with difficult questions on the policy is not interesting for many young people. This is across the board. It's not specific to Roma youth or other groups. There is a group of young people who are interested in politics, and they're very keen to discuss. But many other young people have a voice, but then they want to express it in a different manner. So the youth organizations are starting to diversify the ways in which they reach out to young people. Some people like to respond to surveys, others like just to click and say yes or no to an opinion they find on a social media post. But there's also a lot of interest in, for instance, focus group discussion, where you can meet in smaller settings and actually go deeper into certain subjects and discuss, and then draw a report. So this dialogue becomes far more diverse, and we try to get all the national working groups together every year to also learn from each other and say, what are the tools that are working, and then in parallel we keep on tracking who is involved to see that this more diverse formats also lead to greater diversity in the youth organizations that respond. And so you're very welcome to join in these processes, of course. Then when it comes to Connect, we are making efforts to our programs, Erasmus Plus, the youth exchanges, youth work capacity building, but also to the core, which I already mentioned, to allow volunteers to be engaged in projects. I saw a few volunteers already funded through our programs showing up in your videos. And indeed, this is the kind of activities that we promote. And the EU has, let's hope we have agreement on the financial frameworks very soon. But here the EU has set aside no more than 24 billion for the future Erasmus and $1 billion for the Solidarity Corps. So these are important sums. They're nearly doubling of the Erasmus. It becomes a very significant source of opportunities for young people to learn, to travel, to engage in multicultural and intercultural learning, non-formal learning, and also civil society cooperation. So there's a lot of opportunities. And in that, there have been 3 areas emphasized very strongly, which is inclusion, digital, and green, as being the main focus. And to make that actually from words happen to reality, also the co-legislators have agreed to use strong statements in ensuring that this will be happening. And already today, we are applying strategies for inclusion. And what we try to do is not just track and have numbers, but also invest in the knowledge, the expertise. So within the program implementation, we have a Salto Expertise Center on Diversity and Inclusion that advises the agencies on how to reach out to different target groups, how to also support, what are the criteria, the assessments, and what kind of different costs different groups are facing that should be reimbursed. And this is an ongoing experience. And of course, such expertise centers, I'm sure, would also be very open to listen to you and to discover your reports and to take them in their day-to-day work. Let me also say a few words about Empower, because not in spite of all the efforts we do, we know it doesn't reach out to all young people. And for that, we need to work with multipliers, which in our field we call youth workers, which are essential to also reach out to those that do not read on internet, do not find the youth portal, or even when they find it, do not think it's meant for them. And so we also work with the youth work community, and there is actually ongoing, in parallel to your conference, also a youth worker conference, which is a big gathering where we're discussing the future cooperation. And one of the big ambitions is to create really a youth worker community where we can be in touch on a more permanent basis and learn together how we can make progress on
battery 100%.
So this will also be happening, and there, of course, Roma youth worker community is very welcome to join in this online platforms and discussions that we're working on. And if you don't find them, then you can, of course, also get in touch with me to get the links and to share your interest, so we can follow that up later. So that is what we're doing here, and I look forward to your questions and to engage in the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Flor. I think it was really important to me that you mentioned the role of kind of like this mediator civil society who can connect young people who might not necessarily be interested in very heavy policy language with the actual European decision-making, policy-making structures. So Pirana Mensa, Ternipa are exactly doing that and have been doing that for the past 2 years. And I think a lot is depending on them. So a lot of success for Roma youth is depending on these structures. But I also think that one additional aspect is what happens at the national level. You know, we are seeing crackdowns against civil society, huge structural barriers to Roma civil society in a lot of countries as well. Also governments who, you know, are not necessarily doing their best to increase Romani participation in general. Let's talk about that later on when we address the European framework, Roma framework, and its national implementation and monitoring. And you also mentioned the European Youth Forum, which is, you know, like a consultation body, a very important consultation body. And Pirana Mensa recently became a member, as far as I know. So we will hear from them. They could not participate in discussion today, but after Georgina is speaking, we'll play a short video message from one of their board members, Benjamin, I think. So Georgina, how do you see youth participation, and what can the Council of Europe do to increase it?
Thank you, Bogi. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the team of Pirana Mensa to always pushing forward the cause and working for the visibility of young Roma in Europe. For example, the European Roma Youth Project Award 2020 is give recognition to young Roma people projects that they deserve so long ago. Congratulations to the winner and all of the applicants, and I wish strength to them to continue their work. So, as it was mentioned before, I am the rapporteur on Roma issues in the Joint Council on Youth in the Council of Europe. It's a great honor to me as a young Roma woman. I can represent the young Roma people in the mainstream structures, such as the Advisory Council on Youth in the Council of Europe. So, like, I am not sure everybody's familiar with the whole structure of the structure of this, like of the Council of Europe. So I would like to say a few words about this thing because it's not as well known yet. The Joint Council on Youth composed from a representative of the member states of the Council of Europe and from the members of the Advisory Council on Youth. In the Advisory Council on Youth, 30 dedicated young working on the Council of Europe youth sector and makes recommendations for the future priorities, programs and budgets. In the Advisory Council on Youth, we contribute to the effective mainstreaming of the youth policies, reformulating opinions and proposals on general or specific questions concerning youth. But our main task is to advise the Committee of Ministers on all questions relating to youth. But so in this case, I am a member of the Advisory Council on Youth, and this is how I have been chosen to the role of the rapporteur on Roma issues in the Joint Council on Youth. But what I do specifically in the Advisory Council on Youth and in the Joint Council on Youth. My first priority is to represent Roma youth and to ensure the Roma and minorities appear properly in every level of the work of the youth sector of the Council of Europe. The Roma Youth Action Plan ended in the last year. This plan provided to several young Roma to participate on trainings and seminars, but also have a result of publications such as like the Mirrors, the Manual on Combating Anti-Gypsyism to Human Rights Education. This year, the Council of Europe established a task force meeting on Roma youth participation with the involvement of Roma NGOs and Romani experts. We are on the level where we're preparing the recommendation to the Committee of Ministers to adoption. We have a big hope in this recommendation, especially because it's made with the involvement of young Roma and Roma organizations. With my colleague Pia Slogar, we have opportunity to represent minority and Roma youth in different committees of the Council of Europe. We have the source of the information, and we transfer information. We have the possibility to transfer information between NGOs and the Council of Europe to ensure the better access to them, to the opportunities, and to the opportunities of the minority and Roma organizations. I would like to highlight the opportunity to youth organization to apply for the fund of the to their project through the European Youth Foundation. I think through the foundation, the Roma Youth Project can get access to proper fund, and they can increase their visibility to the mainstream structures. Also, I would like to say here, so how I mentioned, for us, it's very important to give visibility of Roma youth in this mainstream structure of the Council of Europe. But I can answer the questions if there is related to my work later.
Thank you, and I'm very proud, and I think I can say it on behalf of all of us in this meeting and Pirana Mensa and Ternipe to have you sitting on the advisory council on youth, and it's also good to, you know, see you and associate a face with who this person is. So I think you can be a great contact point for Roma youth organizations. So thank you so much, Georgina. And then let's see the video message from the European Youth Forum, and then we'll go into a second round of questions with all of you.
Hello and very warm greetings from the board of the European Youth Forum. My name is Benjamin and I'm a board member of the current board of the European Youth Forum, and it is a pleasure to addressing you today, even though I'm unfortunately not able to join you in person to the Roma Youth Voice event. First of all, let me congratulate once again Fiona Mantha to becoming the 106th member organization of the European Youth Forum. For us in the European Youth Forum, the importance of diversity and inclusion is not new to the environment of youth organizations. We know that it is pivotal to deliver the visions and the missions of many youth organizations in Europe, both in the European Youth Forum, but also above and in the global context. We know that young people, the youth in Europe and in the global sphere is more diverse than ever. And as a platform, we have a responsibility to ensure that young people find themselves welcomed, included, and represented throughout our entire work. With our member organizations, with our membership, as such, we are committed to taking this responsibility. There have been ongoing conversations with our members on how to do so. We want to deepen our understanding and to make sure to understand how youth organizations can appropriately respond to the increasingly diverse social context of young people, especially Roma youth. The forum is continuously working on improving the accessibility of the platform, of our meetings, of our overall structures, especially to an underrepresented group. We have actually developed a membership strategy where we've just dedicated a session on diversity and inclusion. We try to ensure this throughout our entire membership as well. So for us, this is yet still an ongoing process and an ongoing piece of work. We're continuously reflecting how we can improve the accessibility of our events and of our internal structures. And we've just recently started a study on equal opportunities that is helping us to understand what the key challenges are for different groups to accessing our events and our organization as such. We are reflecting on this in a constant process, and just very recently in one of our statutory meetings, the most recent General Assembly, we've adopted a policy paper that is an important milestone in ensuring more inclusion and ensuring the participation of Roma youth. The Combating Anti-Gypsyism policy paper that is giving the Youth Forum now a very important policy position on combating anti-Gypsyism. This was done as an incredible collaborative task together with another member organization, the European Union of Jewish Students, who in a Solidarity Act handed this together with Fiona Mantha to the membership before Fiona Mantha actually was a member of the European Youth Forum. So this is a proof of solidarity within our platform, and it strengthened our strategies of Roma youth, of including Roma youth in the ongoing political dialogue, and it's making us as the European Youth Forum more aware that we need to take minority and especially in this case Roma issues onto every advocacy work that we do in both European or national mainstream youth policies where we are working it. We hope to continue on this path together with our new member Fiona Mantha and also all other Roma youth organizations that are around. We're looking forward to be working with you, and we wish that you all have a very successful and good meeting. All the best from the European Youth Forum.
Thank you, Benjamin. We don't know each other, but now we know a bit. So it was really nice to hear about concrete steps of how the European Youth Forum is trying to diversify its membership. And Anna, towards the end, will reflect from a Fiona Mantha point of view, you know, how was the process of involvement. And so we're going to be a bit I think, critical of mainstream structures towards the very end as well from the Pyramenta and the larger membership experience. So stay tuned for that. But now let's move on to the second round of questions. And I would like to encourage everyone who is listening again to share, their viewpoints, their experiences from the national level. So just like drop me a question and we'll address that in the Q&A session towards the very end. So we have been mentioning the European Roma framework, which was recently in pandemic times, it's a relative definition. So in October, if I remember correctly, so the EU Roma framework was adopted. I think generally that not many, even like Roma activists don't know enough about it. And especially about the indicators that is setting for a lot of different areas, but especially in relation to Roma youth. So I would like to ask Lavinia to talk a bit about that. So what is happening or what should be happening according to this framework and targets related to education, employment and training for Roma youth? And also to address a bit what is happening now after the framework, the strategic framework was adopted. So what's happening on the national level and what plans the Commission has already in place to involve Roma youth in the implementation and the monitoring of the strategy. So Lavinia, you have around 7 minutes, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for giving me again the opportunity to present a little bit. Indeed, it's a quite recent adopted initiative, 7 October. It still takes a little bit for all the stakeholders around to digest it, to look into it, to understand what is it all about, especially because it's a very complex package. So it's not only the communication that we have adopted on 7 of October, but it comes with the working staff document. It comes with the...
Sorry, can I interrupt you for a second? I don't see your video. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not, but just...
No, okay. I have it on, but I'm going to refresh it because I think it got stuck.
Yeah, we see your name, but not your video, and it would be lovely to see you as well.
Now it's working, yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think it was it was frozen. Yeah. So as I was saying, it's a very complex package. It comes with an annex of indicators, portfolio of indicators that has been developed by the Fundamental Rights Agency in cooperation with the member states and the European Commission. It comes with other annexes that detail a little bit more to the methodology that we want to put in place. And even more importantly, it comes with the proposal for a Council recommendation on Roma inclusion, equality, and participation, which is currently discussed in the Council. But I think I will structure a little bit my discussion around the main points of the new initiative around the youth aspects. And because the discussion today brings in the mainstream processes, I have tailored a little bit my my intervention in such a way that is gonna, I hope, is gonna give to the participants a more clear view on what we do from the level of the European Commission and what we specifically ask the member states to address in order to enhance the involvement and the empowerment of the Roma youth people across the EU. So very important, the EU Roma strategic framework addresses diversity among the Roma population by providing guidance to the member states to ensure that future strategies cover all Roma on their territory, follow an intersectional approach, and reflect the specific needs of diverse groups such as Roma, children, youth, LGBTI, Roma women, intra-EU mobile Roma, and so on. Very important to make the parallel with what is expected at the national level. Most of the member states now are in the process of developing their national strategic frameworks. And we have put a big emphasis of involving the Roma civil society in this process already at this stage, so that their views and know-how is properly reflected into the into the setting for the next 5 to 10 years for the Roma inclusion processes at the national levels. Even more important, to come back to our topic, the Commission has prioritized Roma youth within its new initiative and considers it that it is a legitimate right of the Roma youth to be included in all Roma inclusion processes, as well in the mainstream policies that have a direct impact on Roma youngsters themselves. The new initiative, and here I'm going to refer a little bit to how we mainstream the Roma inclusion process at the European level. The new initiative is consistent with the European Pillar of Social Rights. It is designed to increase social fairness, irrespective of sex, racial or ethnic origin, religion or belief, disability, age, or sexual orientation. This is highly relevant, especially for Principle 1 of the European Pillar of Social Rights on equality and inclusive education, Principle 3, which focuses on equal opportunities, Principle 4, which focuses on active support to employment, and Principle 20, which is focusing on access to essential services. Moreover, the EU Roma strategic framework promotes empowerment of and among others Roma young people and children to overcome socio-economic gaps and to fully exercise their rights and realize their potential to be real active agents of change. In this new initiative, the European Commission targets Roma children and youth, both horizontally and explicitly. And I will try not to repeat what our Commissioner has briefly addressed in her intervention at the beginning of the event, but very important indicators, for instance, a specific EU headline targets aims to ensure that by 2030, the majority of Roma children escape poverty, that at least 70% of them participates in preschool education, or that majority of Roma youth complete at least upper secondary education by the same timeline. In member states with significant Roma population, another EU headline target aims to ensure that by 2030, less than 1 in 5 Roma children attend schools where most or all children are Roma. With respect to young Roma, EU headline target proposes to ensure that by 2030, less than 1 in 3 Roma youth is in education, employment, and training. Moreover, since participation and empowerment are amongst the main pillars of the new initiative, the Commission is foreseeing a wide range of activities, both at the European level and national level, meant to boost the active participation of Roma youth in the national and European structures. The European Commission will aim to promote civil society cooperation between Roma-focused and mainstream organizations, especially those targeting children's and Roma young people's rights. And I'm just going to stop a little bit here, and I want to give you some concrete examples so that we all understand what we are talking about, how we want to do this practically in action. And maybe some of the participants looking at us today are already familiar with the concept of National Roma Platform. This is an initiative the European Commission put in place some time ago. Unfortunately, not all the member states have actually implemented this dialogue tool at the national levels. Currently, we have 12 member states that have put in place national Roma platforms. And what we have asked specifically these member states is that when putting in place this tool of dialogue and cooperation between civil society and national governments and local authorities and all the other relevant stakeholders, they choose a representative of a Roma youth organization, a representative of the National Roma platform. So we have asked the member states specifically to put this in place, and in order to ensure a little bit of a linkage so that the dialogue doesn't remain and the conclusions of the national platforms do not remain stuck at the national level, we have also foreseen a form of linkage with the European process on Roma inclusion here in Brussels. And as most of the people watching might know, one of the highest political level event organized by the European Commission on Roma inclusion is the European Platform for Roma Inclusion. So we are planning that on a yearly basis, we bring over to Brussels to represent the conclusions of the national platforms and the voices of the civil society at the national level, to bring this representative chosen by the national Roma platforms at the European level in the European Roma Platform for Inclusion, so that they can actually provide continuation between cycles of policies. In addition to this, because we are talking about empowerment, and by default, when we talk about empowerment, it's something that institutionally we can provide the tools, we can create the platforms to enable that, but it's the individuals themselves that have to self-mobilize and to practically make use of it. And we have foreseen another instrument that we hope is going to help Roma youth organization and Roma organizations as such generally. And we are talking about a continuation of Roma Civil Monitor, which was a pilot the Commission has been implementing for the last 3 years. But next year is going to be launched in the form of a preparatory action, which is a bit more important. Let's say, has a wider scope of action. It's going to cover all the EU member states, and we are aiming to again involve 90 Roma NGOs in this preparatory action from all the EU member states. It's going to take into account the diversity of national contexts between the member states, because as we know, Roma inclusion is not the same in all the member states. So that's going to be also reflected within this preparatory action. And again, we are putting a big emphasis in having Roma youth organization represented at this level as well. Another aspect that is important when we talk about this preparatory action is that we aim to enhance the coalitions and cooperations between Roma NGOs, Roma and non-Roma, both at national level, but also at the European level. Togetherness, it's an essential component of the success of the policies as such. And whilst divergent opinions can help promote forward the debate, it's also important that we stick together and we represent genuinely the needs of the Roma communities. In addition to this, we are also encouraging member states to tackle the digital exclusion of Roma children and Roma youngsters by providing access to digital technologies, in particular access to and support for online and distance learning if education and training institutions close. Like for instance, it was the case for the current pandemic COVID-19, and practically, so we are asking the member states to boost digital skills and competencies amongst Roma. This is not negotiable. Everyone has the right to education, and during the current circumstances, we have seen that the very long circle of exclusion has been even more perpetuated during the COVID times. And this is something that we are trying to tackle also from Brussels, but with the cooperation of the member states. We also, in the Commission, support targeting children and youth through strategies to fight crimes such as trafficking in human beings, including for all forms of exploitations, and enable their access to assistance, support, and protection. And again, this is a very important debate, slightly overlooked, unfortunately, at various levels. But it is important that we talk about the issues, so we will be actually able to put in place useful tools to tackle them and policies and measures to tackle them. So I think I'm gonna stop here for the moment. There are many things that we have in the pipeline. If it comes in the debates, I would gladly answer. But for the moment, I will just close here, and I'm gonna be with you for the rest of the event. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. This was very informative. If you have any links, Lavinia, that you can insert and share with people here in the Zoom call and on Facebook, please do so. I actually have one question, which I would like you to address in the Q&A, if no one else is asking this. So yeah, like we see how comprehensive the package is, but we also know from national experience, you know, how resistant governments, not all of them, but some of the governments can be to these indicators that you put forward in the strategy. So actually we see even governments who are pro-segregation of Roma youth, you know, generally speaking in their policies. So how do you reflect on that? What is your perspective? How can they be made to implement these policies, and what kind of a role the Commission can play? So please think about that, and bring that back. But let's turn to Flor, and let's talk a bit about, you already mentioned a lot about what actions you foresee to increase Romani youth participation. Just one additional information about, you know, the strategies that have been put forward by various segments of the European Commission this year. There has been an LGBTI strategy announced, the gender equality strategy announced, the European Roma framework. There was also a Roma youth, EU youth, not Roma youth, sorry, an EU youth strategy coming up, and it leads up to 2027, if I'm not mistaken. However, Roma youth are not mentioned, but there's a lot of other platforms for participation around the strategy. Just to name a couple of them: the Future, National Activities Planners, EU Youth Dialogue, EU Youth Strategy Platform. So how do you see the Commission's role in securing Roma youth participation in these processes? Yeah, so the floor is yours. Let's try to keep it brief because we are running a bit behind the schedule. So go ahead, Flor.
No, thanks a lot. And indeed, we have the youth strategy adopted in 2018 already. And so we're near to completing its first cycle of 3 years. And next year, we hope to be able to show a good report on implementation. Even if you say the Roma youth are not explicitly mentioned in the youth strategy, the strategy is very much for them. Inclusion runs through as a red thread, and it's very important for us because while some young people find their way to political fora on their own, others don't. And one of the main ideas of a strategy and to give public support to this is to make sure that everyone can participate on an equal footing. So this is very much what we're trying to do. And when it comes to the tools that you mentioned, I mean, on the EU Youth Dialogue, I think there the important step has been made from Verena Mencha to associate to the Youth Forum, because it's not the Commission and not even the member states involved that decide which youth participates. This is actually, we create a platform and then it's for the youth organizations. But you're there, so that is very good to see. And now also up to the organizations and Roma youth to be active in those fora and to make themselves heard. There is also another part in the tools and the implementation of the youth strategy that you refer to, and that is something where the Commission facilitates cooperation with the member states in the field of youth policies, because youth is not a European competence or European policy as such. But apart from our programs, which I've already talked about, we also support member states in improving their youth policies by giving them a platform to learn from each other, to hear about good practices, and to reinforce further the work that they do. There's one thing what we have seen is, for instance, when we looked, there is a study on obstacles to cross-border volunteering. And one thing is very clear, that in the Solidarity Corps and also other problems, all the weaknesses that the program has when it comes to inclusion tend to add up, and then they tend to the more excluded someone is, the harder these weaknesses affect those people. For instance, in the core, we see the lack of information adds on to sometimes the problems that young people have to obtain visa, or when they go abroad to volunteer, that their social rights that they have back home are cut because they go abroad and they're no longer registered in the unemployment office, for instance. So everything adds up, and this is something where our programs, I talked about the strategies we have on inclusion, where we work together with the Salto Expertise Center to make sure everybody's reached. But we also need to act at national level and to work together to make sure that actions really materialize also in the member states. That is very important. For instance, when it comes to the national activities that are in the youth strategy, they refer to what the member states are doing. And again, we encourage them to listen to youth organizations. So whilst it's good to be a member of the Youth Forum, it's also important to mobilize the youth to also be active in the national working groups, in the national youth councils, because to really make big change, it's important to work at different levels in parallel, because just at European level or just in, it's important, but the whole mechanism needs to work as a perfect storm, so to speak. So it's important to indeed also make sure you encourage the national members to mirror what Verena Mensa has done at a European level. And when it comes to the Solidarity Corps, we will look at further work with the member states to make sure that the inclusion ambitions we have for the European program are also met by the national actions that are necessary to make this happen. So I hope that answers your question a little bit. If not, let me know. I'm happy to comment further.
It did, thank you. And lastly, let's hear from Georgina and a bit more about the work of the Council of Europe on Roma issues. But I also would like to ask you, having known you for some time now, on a more personal question. So you being in this position, what would you suggest to a young Roma activist who wants to be more active in the European landscape, on the European policy making level? What's the benefit of that, and how can someone participate in these structures? What has worked for you as support in achieving this? And then Anna will come to us, hopefully, and they'll react on your inputs. And then we go to questions and answers. So this is your last chance, if you're following us here, to put in any questions to the speakers while Georgina and Anna are speaking. I will be looking at the Facebook channel in the meantime. So yeah, prepare your questions. So first Georgina, then Anna, the floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you again. So like how I said, like the most important thing to me here in the Advisory Council on Youth of the Council of Europe is to represent the interest of the Roma youth. And we talked about a little bit of diversity, like the Council of Europe, it's amongst the Council of Europe principles of the anti-discrimination approach, the human rights, the combating anti-Gypsyism and fight against racism. So it's like, for me, it's very easy to feel close to this institution because this is amongst my principles too. And I also have the opportunity to create reports on Roma issues in Europe 2 times a year. And I also can present this personally to the members of the Joint Council on Youth, which includes the members of the representative of the member states. So like it's really important for me here to highlight the difficulties the Roma communities are facing, especially the young Roma people, and also to to highlight also that the racism and the hatred towards the Roma, the anti-Gypsyism is increasing again in Europe. So we have to find a common platform to fight together with the member states against this. And also what I feel it's a big thing, the last summer, all the 47 member states of the Council of Europe adopted the recommendation of the inclusion of the Roma and traveler history into the curricula and the textbooks. I think this is a kind of way what the Council of Europe really can affect of the youngest with the inclusion of the curricula and the textbooks, we can start to fight against discrimination and racism in a very early stage of their age. I think it's also very important. And just what I would recommend for my fellow youngs in Europe is like, what I realized through this year, since I am in the Advisory Council on Youth, you always need a team who are supporting you. I couldn't do without the help of the other members of the Advisory Council on Youth, or I couldn't do without the help of Pirana Mensa and other Roma youth organizations. And also, I think we have to start from local level through national level and go to international level. And this all level is super important for to go forward to the work on the anti-discrimination and for the anti-Gypsyism in the fight. And also, I think also we have rely on our existing network of the Romani movement. We have to keep in contact and be approachable to each other. Therefore, I would like to highlight I am always available to anybody who wants a question, wants to address a question about our work in the Advisory Council on Youth. You can easily find my contacts on the website of the Advisory Council on Youth. And also, just one more thing, I would like to wish strength to every young Roma who is just thinking to get involved into this work or already is in this advocacy work and in this fighting for more recognition of young Roma or Roma, because I think all of you are doing a great job, and your work is very much needed right now in Europe. Thank you. And good luck to everyone.
Thank you, Georgina, for this inspirational message. We have received a couple of questions. So Flor and Lavinia, I'm just sending them to you in a private chat, so please prepare. But before you answer that, I would like to give the floor to Anna to wrap it up from a Pirana Mensa point of view. So Anna, please.
Thank you very much for all these summaries. There was like a multitude of information. It was very. I was trying to make notes. I have long pages, and I will try to reflect on some of them. And I also have questions probably. First of all, maybe I can start with the guest who is not present, like the European Youth Forum. It would have been really nice if they were here, because we do believe and we think it's a very big and a very important first step that Pirana Mensa has become a candidate member at the end of a very long and quite difficult process. And now we would like to see how the Youth Forum can engage in the fight against anti-Gypsyism. It was mentioned by Benjamin that a resolution on anti-Gypsyism was already adopted by the forum in October, I think. And we are really looking forward to turn this into action and curious to see how the membership of the Youth Forum can open up for Roma youth and Roma youth organizations. So that's something which will remain unanswered now. Yeah, and maybe now to the representative of DG Act. Thank you for your presentation or inputs. Again, a lot of information. You have mentioned that you know that the structures are there, and now it's our role as young Roma and Roma youth organizations to utilize them, to use them, such as the National Youth Councils, or you know now our new role in the Youth Forum. Our research shows that there are not many Roma youth organizations in the National Youth Councils. And one of the reasons is that because if we look around in Europe, there are not many classical Roma youth organizations. So most of the organizations working with young Roma are Roma organizations having programs or projects focusing on the needs of young Roma. And also that can be a barrier. And also many times the councils are not very inclusive themselves. So it is, I understand, or we understand that the structures are there and we have to utilize them. But I think it's exactly the reason historically of the lack of involvement of representation, that a bit much needs to be done from the side of the ones who are already within the power structure to open up, to be more inclusive, and to approach and to actively seek for including Roma youth and Roma youth organizations. We do believe and we know that we have an important role within the Youth Forum to work with the membership, that it also becomes more inclusive, because on the one hand, the membership is made up from youth councils, but also international youth organizations. And it is, yeah, and it is important to keep in mind that when youth policies are made at the EU level, the Youth Forum does not represent everyone. And there was also talk about the national working groups within the EU Youth Dialogue and creating the youth policies. Also on the EU homepage, there is no information of many of the countries' national working groups, so it's very difficult for organizations to approach them. Lavinia, thank you too. I think we could write a book or a short book from what you have said. And actually, my question was stolen by Bogi, because I really think that all these actions, proposals are give reason for optimism, and we are very happy about these. But yeah, how can we, or how can you, or how can we all together make nation states really respect and take into consideration these recommendations? I think that's a question forever, has been around, but very eager to know how we can contribute to that. And we are very proud that Gina is in the Advisory Council on Youth. Now maybe we have the, yes, participants here to understand the role. I'm just wondering what are the channels, because now within this live discussion, and also on Facebook. I'm sure that many Roma youth organization representatives are watching, or just Roma youth in general. How can they approach you, if they can, or what's the way to have their say within this structure? So thank you very much again, and I hope we'll have some interesting questions now.
Thank you. So yeah, there was a couple of questions sent in private that I forwarded to both Lavinia and Flor, and Anna also posed some questions. So we are running close to noon when we are supposed to be finishing. So I would like to ask you to answer as briefly as possible. You can also drop in more information in the chat, and let's start then with Lavinia, if you can put on your video for us to see you.
I'm switching on my camera. It's working, yes?
It is.
So I picked up on 3 questions, and I'm gonna be as brief as possible. Increasing the accountability of the member states in relation to data collection, especially for those who are more reluctant in collecting such data. What you should know is that the Commission has established, together with the Fundamental Rights Agency and the member states themselves, a working party on indicators for Roma inclusion, and that work is dating back to 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So it's practically the member states themselves that are working together with the Fundamental Rights Agency and with us, the Commission, in order to come up with these indicators that allow flexibility to the member states, but at the same time allow comparability between the member states when it comes to monitoring the progress. It also, so the indicator framework, if I can express it like this, provides comparable, robust and relevant indicators for monitoring progress and evaluating the results of the national strategies. It includes very important process indicators for those who are familiar with the subject as such. It focuses directly that, reflects directly the measurability of the policies, programs, and projects, and outcome indicators to measure progress towards reaching targets that I have outlined earlier in my intervention, based on statistical data possible to populate from census, administrative data, and survey data. It is true that some of the member states claim that collecting disaggregated data it's forbidden in their national contexts. So what do we do in this situation? The indicators are mostly standard ones, populated by data that are disaggregated according to ethnic origin, as well as other characteristics such as sex and age. In member states in which ethnically disaggregated data are not collected, other territorial or socio-demographic data could be used as proxies. So together with the member states and the Fundamental Rights Agency, we are working on developing these proxies that would allow, to a certain extent, these member states which are a bit reluctant in working this way to actually use these proxies that we'll be developing, or we are developing together, because the work, as I was telling you, has started some time ago. Then it's needless to underline that the European Commission will continue monitoring the implementation and the monitoring of the Racial Equality Directive, and this is hyper relevant when we talk about the situation in education across the member states of the Roma pupils. As you already know, there are quite a few infringements launched against member states that have violated the legislation. So we will be continuing working on this. In 2021, we expect a report on the implementation, on the situation in the member states of the Racial Equality Directive. That will be used as a basis in order to tailor our approach in the future. Then another question that I've picked on in the chat, so thanks a lot for the question. It's regarding the how do we work with the member states in order to practically involve Roma youth organization in the processes. So as I have already described earlier, we do have these direct initiatives, and we've asked the member states specifically to engage Roma youth organization. A very important aspect, we do not only, I'm not gonna go back and tell you how we define the policies and how the indicators are targeted in the policies and guidelines that we actually ask the member states. But when it comes to the empowerment processes, I have given you as examples earlier the Roma Civil Monitor pilot, and there the quota can be actually monitored by us directly. National Roma platforms, again, and how do we, regarding the age, what we define as Roma young individuals. That was not the question here. When we actually asked the member states to nominate a representative of Roma youth organization in order to represent the national, to represent the voices of the Roma youth organizations at the national level, we didn't take into account the age, but we took into account the focus of the organization. So they are working on Roma youth. These are people that can represent the voices of the Roma youth, and of course, ideally, is going to be a Roma youth representative itself working on this, and this is something which we ask specifically. Probably we will pick up on the discussion when we have our bilateral meetings with the national Roma contact points, and we can further elaborate the guidelines for the member states in this sense, and we can come up with a common nominator with regards to the age and so on. So I think these were the two questions I picked up in the conversation earlier and in the chat. If there is anything else, I would be happy to answer. But for the moment, thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity to be here with you. And I hope I was clear enough in my interventions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for putting so much information out. I think it will require some time to process all of it. So good luck, Piranamensa, to digest it and spread it to your membership. So let's hear from Flor and then Georgina. And then if anyone wants to just say congratulations to the applicant project or whatever they want to mention from their experience. There was one comment, for instance, sent to me that civil society, at least not the ones who are national Roma contact points, were not included in that working party on data collection. So that's an important remark. Go ahead, Flor, and then Georgina, and then we close.
Yeah, thanks, Anna, for summarizing this so well. I was listening with great interest to how you see, how you have understood this and your observations on these points that I mentioned. And your observations aligned very much with the question that Bogi sent me concerning the representation of youth organizations, not just a member of the Youth Forum, but also how to be active at the national level. And indeed, this is important. What we have worked on over the last years, and we need to do more. I take the point on the youth portal. We have just revamped it, and we hope that that the pages that are there on the youth dialogue will fill up even more. We plan to be more live tracking of events and activities, but this the revamp was just from last month, so you have to bear with us a little bit before this is all up and running. But when it comes to the national groups, we have worked, and also we support this national working group with grants to make sure that they create the platforms for youth organizations, both their members and non-members, to be engaged in these processes. And I find it very interesting what your comment on to say that Roma youth has not had similar traditional youth representation as others. because we have done a study earlier this year that actually shows that the picture of representation among young people is diversifying. So in a way, maybe the best strategy is not to catch up and become as the old traditional youth organizations, because what we are seeing is that in the past, these organizations represented one part of youth, and then there were pyramidal structures. But since we have the internet, there have become new ways of getting organized, and young people have been very enthusiastic users of social media. So we see that the very nature of these youth organizations is changing, and thanks also to much more online movements. I mean, we have seen the young climate protesters that also partly came from different ways than the classic youth organizations. But we see that youth organizations are very eager to also be there for them. And so events become more open, and the picture of youth representation becomes more diverse and less closed. So it's interesting to maybe also have a look at that study and see where you could picture yourself and what are these exciting new developments in the field of youth, where we see interesting movements and new ways of working together emerging that could also be interesting. I mean, one of the things that struck, for instance, is that what Benjamin said, that the youth organizations from their side also want to represent all youth in its diversity, and they're looking for ways. And one of the new ways we have seen is that there are more and more alliances, because the youth organizations realize they cannot do it themselves, and they're reaching out to others to work together and to create networks of youth organizations to be able to represent everyone. So there's a lot of happening in this field, and this study may give you some further interesting background, and I can only encourage you also to work with the Youth Forum to put that to practice.
Thank you, Flor. And the last words, Gina, go ahead, please. And then we're going to be closing. If you have a congratulatory message to Piranamenta Montenegro, put it in the chat. And then we say goodbye.
Thank you, Bogi. So just what I said, like I added my email address to on a Facebook where I am very open for questions and comments about our work in the Advisory Council on Youth. But what I would like to tell also, we are more on the field of working to preparing documents and recommendations to the member states and to the institutions. So what we can ultimately hope they will implement them on national level, and that's why we are doing our work in this council to push a little bit the states to implement it on national level, and that's how we can and we try to influence the betterment of the young Roma in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and to everyone who were staying with us here in the Zoom and on Facebook. I think the video will be available after, so I'm sure I will be going through again it once and really properly taking notes because there was a lot of information, and I think just by listening to it and discussing it, you and your organizations can have a detailed strategy of, you know, what body and working group to work with. So this was very informative to me. I hope it was the same to you. Let's close, and I wish you all a very as good as possible year closing. I know everyone is really busy before going on holidays. And once again, congratulations to Piranamenta. You did well, both from Hungary and both from Montenegro. And thank you once again, Flora and Lavinia and Gina, for all the great and very insightful and detailed inputs. It was much appreciated. So let's stay in touch, and hopefully we can continue this discussion next year as well. Thank you so much for sharing everything on the chat and staying with us for more than 90 minutes. That's already an achievement, I think, in December. So unless there is anything else from Tarnipe on Pirana Mensa, I'm looking at the faces, then I'm saying goodbye and wish you good luck and help for the upcoming months. Stay strong.
Thank you.